pathogens by interfering the intracellular process. So they include even synthetic analogs like sulfonamides. They are not effective against viruses. So let's go for its chemotherapeutic spectra. So they can be classified as narrow spectrum, extended spectrum, and broad spectrum antibiotics. So now what is narrow spectrum antibiotics? So narrow spectrum activin is they act on single or limited group of micro, which they are specific to that particular micro. Example, isoniazid used in treatment of your mycobacterium in TB. Now, extended spectrum antibiotics. What do you mean by extended? Means it spreads over a bit more. Effective against gram-positive organism and significant number of gram-negative. So they are positive, effective against gram-positive as well as few of your gram-negative. Example, ampicillin. Example, ampicillin. The third class of drug is broad spectrum antibiotics. So what do you mean by broad spectrum antibiotics? Effective against a wide variety of microbial species. Example, tetracycline, chloramphenicol can alter the nature, but the most important thing is this might act on the intestinal flora also. So this might lead to your superinfection. Excuse me. This can lead to your superinfection. They might excuse me, they can interfere with your normal intestinal flora also. So this can lead to your superinfection. So these are the three classifications. Narrow means specific, extended means they are effective against gram positive, and to a significant against your gram negative bacteria. Whereas broad spectrum, they are effective against wide variety of microorganisms, like examples like tetracycline, chloramphenicol. But the most drawback is they lead to superinfection because they will alter the nature of your intestinal flora. The useful probiotics which are present in your intestine will also be affected by this antibiotics. So what are the characteristics of an antibiotic? What are the characteristics that should be present? Excuse me. So it should be a wide spectrum and that ability to destroy and eliminate many different species. Though it says it should be eliminated quickly and completely from the body. It should be eliminated completely from the body. It should not produce any adverse or side effect. It should antagonize the growth or survival of one or more species of microorganisms. So it should be specific to the microorganism. It should be highly effective in low concentration. It's very important. Its effectiveness should be high at your low doses. It should be non-allergic to the host. If you see penicillin, there are hypersensitivity reaction, so it should be non-allergic to the host. It should not eliminate the normal flora of the host. It should not eliminate the normal flora. This may otherwise it might lead to superinfection. It should be able to reach the part of where the infection is occurring. So target specific it should be. So if it is for skin infection, it should be able to reach. So your ADME property should be perfect of all these antibiotics. It should be inexpensive and easy to produce. Very important. It should be inexpensive and easy to produce. It should be chemically stable. It should have long half-life. If it is as a short half-life, you cannot produce. It cannot be stored. So your antibiotics says that it should have a stable, long half-life. Its product of metabolism, although may be duplicated or even has to be anticipated by chemical synthesis. Now let's go for the next. What is the complication associated with your antibiotic therapy? So there are some complications. Not that all that medicines that we take are productive. There might be some reciprocations also. Now let's see for the first one. Resistance because of the inappropriate use of antibiotics. The most major cause of your resistance is inappropriate use of your antibiotic. You take when the dosage, when it is prescribed for 3 days, you take it for 1 or 2 days, you discontinue. If it is for 5 days, you take for 3 days, you are fine. But this will lead to the resistance. Hypersensitivity. In case of penicillin, as I explained, you might have many sulfur drugs that give to allergic reactions. Direct toxicity. So in case of aminoglycoside, it directly affects your ears. It leads to ototoxicity, deafness. Superinfection. In case of broad spectrum antibiotic causes alteration in normal product, often difficult to treat. Okay, so you should be very specific when you prescribe an antibiotic, because there are some side effects that are associated which has to be considered. Okay, so prescription of a broad spectrum antibiotic should be very careful, or else it might lead to super infection which might be very difficult to treat. So these are some of the complications associated with your antibiotic therapy. Now let's go for the next. Drug resistance. So what are the causes of drug resistance? Very important. What causes drug resistance? Why the resistance occur for the antibiotics? Most important things. Nowadays you see that you take a drug, it is not effective. Though it has been prescribed for that particular ailment for a long time, but still B-shows do not respond. Why is this occurring? Why is this thing occurring? So the main cause of drug resistance is alteration of the target sites of the antibiotic. Okay, one of the most problematic antibiotic resistance worldwide is methicillin resistant among Staphylococcus aureus. So what happens to alteration in the site? So where the antibiotics bind, the target has been modified by your microorganism. So the drug cannot bind at the target. So this is due to the modification, mutation in your microorganisms. This is one of the reasons. Okay. Now the second is enzyme inactivation of your antibiotics. So in case of beta-lactam, like penicillin, syphilis, can be inactivated by enzyme called as beta-lactamase, which is present on your cell wall of your microorganism. So this enzymes inactivates your penicillins. So this is one of the mechanism of drug resistance. Next is active transportation of antibiotic out of your bacterial cell wall. That is efflux mechanism. So drugs, so some of the antibiotics like tetracycline, macrolides and all can be removed by active transportation mechanism. That they efflux means against the gradient, they will expel the antibiotic. So that will, this is one of the mechanism. Next is decreased permeability. Decreased permeability of the bacterial cell wall to the antibiotics. This can be done by alteration in the porine protein. So your drugs, antibiotics enter through your porins, the holes, so which has a protein. So they will alter the protein structure. In the case of penicillin binding protein, that also contains porins. So that will have amino acids. That sequence will be altered, and this alteration will lead to decreased permeability of your drug antibiotics through the cell membrane. Resistance of Pseudomonas aureus to variety of your penicillins and cephalosporin. So this is how alteration in the permeability. They try to change the chemical structure or your membrane structure of the microorganisms. So these are the 4 mechanisms which can lead to your drug resistance. That is mutation, enzyme inactivation, active transfer, efflux mechanism, decreased permeability by changing the cell wall of the bacteria or the microorganisms. So these are the 4 different ways where drug resistance occurs. In case of beta-lactamase, as I said, enzyme inactivation. Some bacteria secrete enzyme called beta-lactam which destroys the beta-lactam ring, rendering the beta-lactam antibiotics ineffective. So what did we do it? So this problem has to be tackled. So this problem was tackled by administering a drug called clavulanic acid, which is a beta-lactamase inhibitor, because the structure is similar to that of your beta-lactam. So it acts as a competitor. So instead of your penicillins getting degraded, the beta-lactamase attack on this clavulanic acid and thus increase the efficacy of your penicillins. Examples of a combination that is augmentin, that is clavulanic acid and amoxicillin, that is amoxiclav and all. They can also be given in combination of your piperacillin and tazobactam, that is tazocin. That is, even tazobactam is also an example of beta lactamase inhibitor. So they act as a synergistic effect between the two drugs. They inhibit the enzyme beta lactamase, which causes your resistance. Resistance decreased by permeability of the drug. To prevent the drug reaching the targets, that is penicillin, presence of efflux, as I mentioned, mechanism reduces the amount of intracellular drug. Now let's go for the classification of antibiotics according to the site or mechanism action. So cell wall disruptions. So they inhibit your cell membrane, cell wall. Examples: penicillin, cephalosporin, vancomycin, and echinocandin. Cell membrane affecting Pauline antibiotics, which you have studied in antifungals. And so antifungals, terbinafine, this amine derivatives, they act on the cell membranes, altering the cell membrane. Azole antifungal agent. Now protein synthesis. So protein synthesis can be inhibited by attacking on your 50S ribosomal subunit and 30S. So example of 50S ribosomal subunits are macrolides and chloramphenicol, whereas 30S subunits are tetracycline and aminoglycosides. Okay, they inhibit your protein synthesis. Now inhibiting your cellular component affecting, that is affecting the nucleic acid synthesis, rifampicin and your quinolines. Antimetabolites like your trimethoprim and sulfonamide. So these are the classification of antibiotics according to their site of action. So as explained, these are produced by and which have capacity to inhibit the growth and even destroying the. So classification of antibiotics. Then the beta-lactam antibiotics like penicillins. This is another classification according to the broader spectrum. Penicillins, cephalosporins, monobactam, carbapenems. Beta-lactam inhibitors like clavulanic acid and sulbactam. Tetracycline like oxytetracycline, doxytetracycline. Nitrobenzene, benzene derivatives like chloramphenicol. Aminoglycosides like streptomycin, gentamicin, amikacin. Macrolide antibiotics like erythromycin, roxithromycin, and azithromycin. And in case of lincosomide, antibiotics like lincomycin and clindamycin. Polypeptide antibiotics like polymycin B, colistin, and bacterium and thyroxine. So these are the classification of your antibiotics according to their chemical class. So now let's go for the first class, that is beta-lactam antibiotics. So what are the most important thing? What is the most important thing in beta-lactam antibiotics? What's the most important thing in beta-lactam antibiotics? What is the most important thing in the beta-lactam antibiotics? So you can see the slides. What is the most important thing in it's the beta-lactam drug? So there are 4 classification of beta-lactams. So there are 4 classification of beta-lactams. So what is the main structure? It should contain a beta-lactam ring. If you see, it's a cyclobutene with then carbonyl and N. Okay, so this is the beta lactam ring. Basically, it should contain a cyclobutane ring with nitrogen and a carbonyl group. That is known as your beta lactam. It should contain basically a beta lactam. So that is the first and foremost most important thing in any antibiotic, beta lactam antibiotic, that it should contain a bit. This particular ring can be fused to a 5-membered or a 6-membered ring or any other groups. So according to that, they can be classified, okay, into 4 groups. First thing is beta lactam joined to a 5-membered thiazolidine ring. If you can see, your beta lactam ring is connected to a 5-membered thiazolidine ring. Why it is called thiazolidine ring? Because it has contained sulfur, nitrogen, and it is a saturated ring. That's why it is called lidine ring. Okay, thiazolidine. Now, in case of cephalosporin, it is connected to a 6-membered dihydrothiazine moiety. It is connected to a 6-membered dihydrothiazine. Why it is called thiazine? Because it is containing 6-membered containing nitrogen. Azine means, thiazine means it contains a 6-membered heterocyclic ring containing sulfur and nitrogen, and it has got 2 saturation. Okay, it has got a hydrogen at second position, 2 hydrogens at the second position. Rest all position it is substituted. That's why it is called dihydrothiazine ring in cephalosporin. Next example is carbapenems. So what does carbapenems contain? It contains a beta lactam ring which is fused to a 5-membered ring, although it is carbocyclic. What do you mean by carbocyclic? What it is, there is no sulfur over here. Okay, it does not contain sulfur. There is no sulfur. So please correct it. It does not contain sulfur. It is carbon. There is no sulfur moiety in your ring. Please do the corrections necessary. Okay, it contains sulfur. Okay, instead of sulfur there is a carbon. Okay, carbapenems does not contain sulfur group. Your thiazolidine ring is replaced by a carbocyclic ring. Okay. Next is monobactam. Monobactam, it is a single beta lactam containing ring. It is a 4-membered beta lactam containing ring with necessary antibacterial property. So these are the 4 classes of your beta lactam antibiotic. The first class is penicillin, which is connected to your thiazolidine ring. Next is your cephalosporin, which is connected to your 6-membered dihydrothiazine ring. Okay. In case of carbapenems, your beta lactam ring is connected to a 5-membered carbocyclic ring, and in monobactam, it is a monocyclic beta lactam with a sulfur side chain joined to your nitrogen. So these are the 4 groups of beta lactam antibiotics. So these are the 4 groups of beta lactam and containing ring, beta lactam containing ring antibiotics. So first class is penicillin, second class is cephalosporin, third class is carbapenems, and the 4th class is monobactams. Okay. Now the classification of penicillins on the basis of their source, route of administration, spectrum of activity, resistance to enzyme, and resistance to acid. So in case of source, naturally occurring penicillins are penicillin G, penicillin B. Semi-synthetic are oxacillin, cloxacillin, dicloxacillin, methicillin, nafacillin, ampicillin, amoxicillin, carbacillin, and piperacillin. So this is according to the source and source. Next is route of administration, according to whether they are given orally or parenterally. Oral antibiotics are ampicillin, amoxicillin, penicillin B, oxacillin, cloxacillin, and whereas parenterals are penicillin G, methicillin, nafacillin, carbacillin, piperacillin, and ticagrelor. So very important, the routes of administration, whether they are given administered orally or parenterally. Next is the spectrum, as we earlier said, narrow spectrum, broad spectrum, intermediate and extended spectrum. Narrow spectrum antibiotics are methicillin, oxacillin, neficillin, and dicloxacillin. They are narrow, means they have got effect only in for one species of microbe. Broad spectrum antibiotics are ampicillin and amoxicillin. Intermediate, penicillin G and penicillin V. Extended spectrum are carbacillin, ticagrelor, piperacillin, and meloxicillin. Okay, these are the classification according to the spectrum of activity. Now, resistance to enzyme. Beta-lactam resistant to beta-lactam. So these are the drugs which are resistant to beta-lactam. Methicillin, neficillin, oxacillin, cloxacillin. Whereas resistant, non-resistant to beta-lactamase enzymes, because they can be degraded by beta-lactam enzymes, are penicillin G, penicillin V, ampicillin, amoxicillin, and carbacillin. Acid stable, that are penicillin V, ampicillin, amoxicillin, oxacillin, cloxacillin, and acid unstable are penicillin G, methicillin, neficillin, carbacillin, piperacillin, and ticagrelor. So these are very important. So which drug and how it has to be administered. If you see, the drugs which have to be administered parenterally are acid unstable. If you can see in the classification, route of administration and acid unstable drugs, they are almost the same. They are almost the same. Acid stable and oral are almost the same. So this determines whether the drug has to be given orally or parenterally, depending upon their acid stability. Acid stability means in the stomach, if it will be stable or not. If it is not stable, then you cannot give orally. So acid unstable drugs are given parenterally. Okay, so this is how the classification of penicillin on the basis of their source, routes of administration, spectrum is done. So now let's go for the penicillin introduction. Let's go for the penicillin. Penicillin is the group of antibiotics that are commonly used to treat different types of gram-positive and gram-negative. So they are broad spectrum antibiotics. Okay. In their structure, they contain a beta-lactam ring and is located due to the reason why these drugs are called beta-lactam. Because of the beta-lactam structure in the antibiotic, they are known as beta-lactam antibiotic. So penicillin is the first class of beta-lactam antibiotics. Penicillin was derived from a penicillium mold, that is fungus. Okay. It destroys the bacteria by inhibiting the enzyme responsible for the formation of your cell wall in the bacterial cell. So it inhibits your cell wall synthesis. So when penicillium acts on the microorganism by inhibiting the cell wall synthesis, by inhibiting the enzyme responsible for your cell wall synthesis. Now, biological sources of penicillin. So where do you get this penicillin? The first naturally occurring benzyl penicillin, that is penicillin G, also referred as gold standard penicillin, was obtained from fermentation of your fungus Penicillium notatum. So what is the source? Primary source, first source of your penicillin was Penicillium notatum. So the first natural source of benzyl penicillin, that is penicillin G, was from Penicillium notatum. At present, it is obtained from high yielding strains called Penicillium chrysogenium. So now your penicillins are obtained from Penicillium chrysogenium or any other penicillium species. The primarily it was obtained from your Penicillium notatum. Now it is high yielding strains like Penicillium chrysogenium is used. 30 different biosynthetic penicillin have been isolated from variety of strains of Penicillium notatum and so you can get 30 different biosynthetic penicillins that were isolated from variety of strains of your Penicillium notatum and chrysogenium. So there are 5 classes of penicillin. This is the classification of penicillin. So there are 5 classes of penicillin: naturally occurring penicillin, fermentation derived penicillin, that is semi-synthetic semi-synthetic penicillin resistant penicillin, that is parenteral. Okay, methicillin, nafcillin, and isooxazole penicillin like cloxacillin, dicloxacillin, and flucacillin. So these are the semi-synthetic penicillin is resistant. So they are effective against beta lactamase. Aminopenicillin like sensitive broad spectrum penicillins. It's a broad spectrum. It is penicillin is sensitive, means it gets affected by your beta lactamase, but it has broad spectrum activity. Examples are ampicillin and amoxicillin. Carboxy penicillin, synthetic penicillin is sensitive to broad spectrum and parenteral. So it is acid sensitive. It's a broad spectrum penicillin and it is used for parenteral. Example are carbacillin, indinel, and ticarcillin. Iridopenicillin derivatives like piperacillin, meloxicillin, and alloxicillin. So these are some of the classification of your drug according to the chemical groups which are present in the penicillin. Iridopenicillin means it contains an urea group. Carboxypenicillin means it contains a carboxyl group. Aminopenicillin means it contains an amino group. And your semi-synthetic penicillin means like methicillin, that is isoxazole group, like naphthalene groups and all. So they are penicillin resistant. Penicillin is resistant penicillin. So they are effective against beta lactamase also. So these are the classification of your 5 classes of your penicillins. Now let's go for the mechanism. Let's go for the mechanism of action of your penicillin. So as you know, it affects your cell wall synthesis. Now let us see how. It is a bactericidal antibiotic. It is a bactericidal antibiotic, and they kill the micro when used at therapeutic doses. So they kill the bacterial microorganisms when they are given in therapeutic doses. The synthesis of cell wall of the bacteria is completely dependent upon the enzyme called transpeptidase. So your cell wall synthesis of your bacterial cell wall entirely depends upon the enzyme called transpeptidases. So it depends upon the enzyme called transpeptidases. Primarily the penicillin. So what does this penicillin do? They inhibit the cell wall of the bacteria by blocking the transpeptidases enzyme. So they block the transpeptidases after binding to the penicillin binding proteins and prevent the synthesis. So these penicillins bind to the penicillin binding proteins and thus interfere with your enzyme. It entirely blocks the transpeptidases enzyme. Result is bacterial cell death due to cell lysis. Penicillins do not kill other cells in the body. So they are only specific to the microorganism, not the other cells. So now let's go for the chemistry of penicillin. So they are called as beta-lactam antibiotics, as I mentioned, and they are characterized by 3 fundamental structural requirements. So what are the requirements? First thing, the fused beta-lactam ring. If you can see the beta-lactam ring, it should contain a beta-lactam ring that is fused to a thiazolidine ring. That is fused to a 5-membered thiazolidine ring with a carboxylic group at the 3rd position, beta-lactam, and an amino acid side chain with a dimethyl group at the 2nd position. So these are the basic requirements. So if you can see the structure, there is a beta-lactam ring which is fused to a thiazolidine ring which contains dimethyl group at the 2nd position, carboxylic group at the 3rd position. The beta-lactam ring contains nitrogen followed by your carbonyl and an N-acyl group, that is NCOCl. So this is the basic requirement. So it should contain a carboxylic group and it should be 1 or more substituted amino acid side chains. So these are the basic requirements for your penicillins. These are the basic requirements of. These are some of the examples of penicillin. So let us go for one by one each. So the first example is penicillin G. So in case of penicillin G, your acyl group is benzyl group C6H5CH2, that is attached to your carbonyl carbon COC group. Okay, that is benzyl. Next is penicillin V. It is phenoxyacetyl. It is called phenoxyacetyl because it contains a phenol CH2 group which is attached to your acyl. So that is called phenoxyacetyl. Phenanthisin group means it contains an ethyl group which is connected to your carbonyl group. Okay, it is phenoxy group which is attached to your ethyl group to rest of the molecule. Propacillin means it contains a propyl group which is attached to your carbonyl group. Propacillin. Okay. Ampicillin. Now it is an ampicillin, as I said, it is an example of your amino group containing your amino group. So you write the structure and you see your one of the H of your penicillin gene is replaced by your amino group. Next case of amoxicillin, it is similar to that of your ampicillin. Only difference is that it has got an hydroxyl group at the 4th position of your phenyl group. Okay, that's the difference between amoxicillin and ampicillin. Carboxylin. So in case of the difference between carboxylin and ampicillin is your amino group is replaced by your carboxylic acid. Your amino group is replaced by your carboxylic acid. That is your. Now let's go for the next class. Okay, next class is methicillin. So what is methicillin? It is directly attached to your carbonyl group. The phenyl group is directly attached to your carbonyl group, but only one thing is that it has got two bulkier group at the ortho position, that is methoxy group. That's why it is called methicillin. In this, the phenyl group is directly attached to your carbonyl group and you have got a two methoxy at the ortho position. This makes the drug penicillin resistant. This makes, because of the bulkiness, it will protect your carbonyl group and thus makes your drug penicillin resistant. Next class of drug is oxacillin. What is oxacillin? This is also a drug which is directly attached to your carbonyl. Only difference is the phenyl group is then connected to an isoxazole group. The phenyl group is attached to an isoxazole. Isoxazole means oxygen and nitrogen at the 1 and 2 position, and it has got the methyl at 1, 2, 3. 5th position it got the methyl group. That is your oxacillin. Now next comes your cloxacillin. The structure is same to that of your oxacillin. Only thing, the ortho position of your phenyl ring contains a chloro group. The ortho group at your phenyl ring contains a chloro group. In case of dicloxacillin, it contains 2 chlorine at the ortho positions. Both ortho 2 and 6 position, it contains a chloro substitute. And in case of flucloxacillin, it contains an fluorine and an chlorine at the ortho positions. That is an example of flucloxacillin. Next is your sulfacin. So it contains an, what does it contain over here? If you can see, your amino group in case of ampicillin is replaced by a sulfonic acid group. Okay, SO3H. That is the difference. So penicillin O, it contains an allyl group. It's not much used. Naphthalene. In case of naphthalene, it contains a naphthalene group with a O ethoxy group at the 2nd position. The naphthalene group is connected to directly to your carbonyl group with an O ethoxy group. Okay, so these are some of the examples of your penicillin. These are some of the examples of penicillin. So that's all for today. So some more examples of penicillins. We have studied penicillin G, V, naphthalene, cloxacillin, and all. Okay, dicloxacillin, ampicillin, amoxicillin. Okay, cycloxacillin contains an amino group. Your carboxylin contains COH on the alpha carbon. Your ticarcillin. So in case of ticarcillin, your aromatic ring, that is phenyl ring, is replaced by an heterocyclic ring. Remember, the difference between carboxylene and picarcylene is your aromatic phenyl ring, benzene ring, is replaced by a thiophene. Now, the next example is piperacillin. So, if you see the piperacillin, your amino, in case of ampicillin, it is NH2. Now, this NH2 is connected by a urido linkage. It is an example of urido-piperidine derivative. So, it is connected by urea derivative, that's NHC double bond O N to a piperidine ring, okay, which contains a dicarbonyl at the second and the third position, and the nitrogen at the fourth position contains an ethyl group, that is piperacillin. Okay, piperacillin means it can piperazine moiety. You can see piperazine 1,4-diazine with 2 carbonyl group at the second and the third position and an ethyl. And the piperazine is connected to your ampicillin by a carbonyl group which forms an urea linkage. That's why it is called as urido-piperazine derivative. So this is an example of piperacillin. Okay, picarcillin, only thing is that it contains a thiophene ring instead of your phenyl, instead of your benzene ring, which is similar to the structure is then similar to that of your carboxylene. Now, one of the most important topic in penicillin, that is degradation. This degradation only reduces your stability of your penicillin. So the degradation of your penicillins are very much important. Now let us see one by one. You say the structure of penicillin. You take down the structure of penicillin. So what is penicillin contains? It contains a beta-lactam ring. It contains a beta-lactam ring, and this beta-lactam ring is highly sensitive to your acidic basic nucleophiles because of the strain which is present in your beta-lactam. Beta-lactam is a moiety. Beta-lactam is a strained moiety. It contains a beta-lactam. Now let us see the structures one by one. Let us see the structures. Let us see the structures of the degradations one by one. First, draw the structure of your penicillin. Hope everybody can see the board. Okay. First, draw the structure of penicillin. You contain a double bond O, N, beta-lactam, thiazolidine ring, double bond, dimethyl, NH, which is connected by C double bond O. So this is an penicillin. Okay, this is an penicillin. This is the structure of your basic penicillin. Now let us see what happens. Now let us see what happens to the drugs. What happens to penicillin? So as you see, as you see in the structure, in acidic medium pH, followed by HCl2. Okay, in acidic pH, okay, or in presence of dilute acid or mercury chloride. Okay, so what happens? It undergoes ring deformation. This ring gets deformed. It opens up over here. Okay, and you get COOH and C double bond. There is a deformation in the ring. There is a deformation. There is a rearrangement in the ring. In the acidic ring, it undergoes rearrangement to form penicillic acid. Penicillic. So it undergoes rearrangement. This bond break opens OH and the carbonyl, it forms your NH, and you get an imine formation that takes place. That's why this is penicillic acid. This is your first intermediate. Okay. Now the same intermediate, when when it is treated with, when the same intermediate here is treated with your amidase. So what does this amidase enzyme does? It breaks the amide bond over here. It breaks the amide bond over here and you get your NH2 and double bond O CH3. You get six amino penicillin amide. Penicillin. 6 amino penicillin. Okay, penicillic acid. Okay, so that is your amidase and acidic pH. Now what happens in your basic pH and in presence of your beta-lactam or penicillase enzyme? So what happens when there is in a basic medium, when the pH is basic? So this basic pH or a beta-lactamase, they attack on the carbonyl carbon. They attack on the carbonyl carbon of your beta-lactam. They attack on the carbonyl carbon of your this OH minus attacks, nucleophilic attack on the carbonyl carbon. So this breaks open your moiety over here, penicillin beta-lactam ring to give you RC double bond O NH C OOH. Then there is CH NH S dimethyl COH. This is nothing but your penicilloic acid. This is nothing but your penicilloic. This is nothing but your penicilloic acid. Okay, with a carboxylic acid. Okay. What is the next step? Let us go with this. Then this follows by decarboxylation. What happens? This particular carbon, which is breakage, which leads to formation of your carboxylate, it undergoes decarboxylation and you get RC double bond O NH CH2 C H S NH COH. There is a decarboxylation over here. There is a decarboxylation over here. This carbon dioxide, carboxylic acid gets decarboxylated and you get penicilloic acid. You get your penicilloic acid. This is the upper one is penicilloic acid, and the first one is penicillic acid. So don't get confused by that. And this further undergoes degradation. So what happens? The bond over here breaks. The bond between sulfur and carbon breaks, and the bond between carbon and nitrogen breaks. The ring opening occurs. You get RC double bond O NH CHO plus your SH CH3 COOH and NH2. That is penicillamine and your penicillaldehyde. So when its bond breaks over here between your carbon and your sulfur and carbon and nitrogen, it leads to formation of your aldehyde and corresponding amine. So this is the cascade of degradation in your basic medium. Now let us see what happens when you treat it with your methanol. So methanol attacks similarly. Methanol acts as a nucleophile. It attacks on your carbonyl carbon. You get your ester. With this, that is your ester, penicillic acid methyl ester. That when you treat it with your mercury chloride, the bond between your carbon and sulfur breaks and carbon and nitrogen breaks. You get your penicillamine and methyl penicilladate. Okay, so this is the degradation of your penicillin. This is your degradation of your penicillin. Very important from your examination point of view. It's very important from the examination point of view. Okay, now let's see overall. So what happens? So you take a benzyl penicillin. So it contains penicillin binding protein. That is, it binds with your lysine. Okay, it binds with your lysine with the loss of water. It binds with your lysine, formation of amide bond. This is how your attachment is. Now what happens when this is bound with the lysine, with your amide chain? The water attacks on the carbonyl carbon. The water which is present in your environment attacks on your carbon of your beta lactam. This breaks open your ring to give you a penicilloic acid, which further undergoes degradation. It undergoes decarboxylation to give phenylloic acid, which is inactive. This is how your beta lactams, penicillins, gets deactivated or degraded in your body. Okay, this is your degradation of your body. So this is the same. This is what happens in presence of base and penicillinase. You get penicilloic acid. Further, it undergoes decarboxylation, that is phenylloic acid, and which you further treat with mercury chloride and water. It gives your corresponding phenylloic aldehyde and penicillamide. So this is your degradation pathway. This is your degradation pathway of your penicillin compounds. Okay. Now, how does it degradation? Penicillinase, this is also an enzyme which has nucleophilic OH group, which attacks on your carbonyl carbon. Okay, on the beta lactam carbonyl ring opening occurs. It leads to formation of your penicilloic acid and undergoes, which further undergoes decarboxylation to give your phenylloic acid. So this is how your degradation, enzymatic degradation of your penicillins beta lactam ring occurs. Okay, very important. Now let's go for the structural activity relations. So you have studied your degradation. Now you should know the structural activity. So what is the main thing that a beta lactam penicillin contains? It contains a beta lactam moiety. Okay, which is attached to a thiazolidine ring. It is attached to a thiazolidine. That is a 5-member saturated ring containing nitrogen and sulfur. Okay, it is a 5-member saturated ring containing a sulfur and a nitrogen at 1,3 position. At the second position, it contains dimethyl substitution. It contains a dimethyl substitution for your at the second position, which is must for the activity. Okay, third position contains a carboxylic acid. Okay, the corresponding sodium or potassium makes it more water soluble. It makes it water soluble. The carboxyl ion binds to the charged nitrogen of your lysine residue in your binding site. So this carboxylic acid I showed you earlier is the site where the penicillin binds to your penicillin binding proteins, which is present on the walls of your microorganisms. So this is your binding site. The carboxylic acid is your binding site. The bicyclic system, that is thiazolidine and your beta lactam, confers further strain to your beta lactam ring, and greater the strain, greater the activity, and greater the instability of the molecule to the other which are. So because of this strain, this is also necessary for its activity, but that also leads to your degradation also. So it is the beta lactam strain is necessary for your activity, but that also leads to its deactivation. The carbonyl group, the lone pair of electron located on the nitrogen atom, can attack on the carbonyl group through the resonance stabilization. So it undergoes nucleophilation. This nitrogen, if you see, it undergoes, the carbonyl carbon can attack on this particular carbonyl atom of your ring through your resin. The acyl amino groups, which are attached to your carbonyl group. The acyl amino is nothing but your RC double bond NH2 group. So the R can be aromatic, heterocyclic, okay, or bulky substitution, so that it prevents the, because of this bulkiness, it prevents the attack of the beta lactamase enzyme. So now what is the next thing? The configuration between your two carbons. Okay, if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, between your 5 and 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Between your 5 and 6 should always be of cis. The hydrogen should be in the same place. If you try to substitute also the one of your hydrogen, the activity is. So this is an overall look. Now let us go in detail the structural activity. So position 1, you see the numbering. 1 is sulfur, 2, 3, 4 is your methyl, 5 your methyl, your linker, 6 is your amino linker, and 7th is your carbonyl carbon. So this is your numbering. Now let's go for position 1. The sulfur atom in thiazolide is oxidized to your sulfone and sulfur to improve your stability. So if you convert your sulfur into SO or SO2, it improves your stability but decreases the activity. So if you convert S to SO to SO2, it increases the acidic stability but it decreases the activity. So that is the first position. No substitution allowed in this position or any change will lower the atom-methyl is necessary. So dimethyl substitution at the second position is very much necessary for your activity. So dimethyl substitution at the second position is very much important for your activity. Now let's go for the third position, the carboxylic acid. This is required for your activity because this is your binding site. So this plays an important role. If this thing is modified, converted into ester or something, okay, then or an alcohol, the activity is decreased. So your carboxylic acid should be free. Nitrogen at the fourth position must, because it is a part of your beta-lactam ring. There should be no substitution at the fifth position. As I mentioned, the fifth position should always be empty. It should not be substituted, and it should always be at the cis configuration with your carbon number 6. Okay, hydrogen. The carbonyl group at the seventh position, the carbonyl group is must. So the carbonyl group at the seventh position is must for your activity. At the sixth position, substitution allowed on the side chain must be an amide. Amide substitution should be present. Electron withdrawing group. Okay, listen carefully. The electron withdrawing group added at this position will give the compounds better acid stability because this substitution will make the amide group less nucleophilic. So what happens if you put an electron withdrawing group at substitution at the amide? So what will do? It will reduce your nucleophilicity. Why? The tautomerism. It will pull the electrons away from your carbonyl. So your tautomerism will not happen, and the OH that is formed will be less nucleophilic compared to that because the electron density is less. So that particular carbonyl group cannot attack on the beta-lactam ring. So thus increases the stability, oxygen. Thus increases the oral stability and reduces the nucleophilicity of your oxygen in the carbonyl group. Okay, and thus it does not attack on the beta-lactam ring. So next substitution that should be there on the R should be bulky group should be added close to the ring so that your beta-lactamase cannot attack your beta-lactam ring. So the beta-lactamase enzyme cannot attack. So if the substitution which is attached to the acyl group is bulkier and directly attached to the group and it is electron, it will increase its oral stability as well as it will increase the stability against the beta-lactamase. Okay. Steric hindrance protects against the beta-lactam because of the steric bulk that will protect against the beta-lactam. So this was the SAR. Now let us go into the of your R group. So what all substitutions can be present on the R, that is your acyl group. The design and development from the West End substitute has been aimed in strengthening an activity, stability, resistance, absorption and distribution. So the substitution which is present on the acyl, R acyl, is very much important in determining the activity and its resistance and stability. Everything plays an important role. The R substitution plays an important, as I said earlier, placing an electron withdrawing group in the side chain which could draw the electrons away from the carbonyl carbon. So once an electron withdrawing, it will reduce your electron density on your carbonyl carbon. So it cannot attack on the beta-lactamase. It will not undergo. Whenever it undergoes your tautomerism also, the electron density on your carbonyl carbon will be less, so that it will reduce its nucleophility and thus it will not attack on the beta-lactam carbonyl carbon. Okay, this will what will happen. Examples of these drugs are greater stability, oral stability of your penicillin V and ampicillin. Now steric steel shields. What do you mean by steric steel? So there is a bulky substitution. R will be a bulky substitution. Okay, this will increase their protect against your bacterial beta-lactamase enzyme. So this will prevent, the bulk will prevent the attack of bacterial beta-lactamase enzyme on the beta-lactam ring. Okay, by placing a bulky group on the side chain, it prevents the penicillin from entering the penicillin or beta-lactamase active site. So this is how it will prevent the attack entering from that. This bulkiness will prevent the attack of your beta-lactamase on your penicillin ring. In fact, it is said the steric steel was too bulky that it also prevents the penicillin from attacking the transmitted target. So it should be an ideal shape. It should not be too big or too small. Okay. Example, methicillin. So if you see methicillin, there is two methyl group and a phenyl which is directly attached to your R, which is directly attached to your amide. Okay. So this is the ideal substitute. Indeed, methicillin has no electron withdrawing group on the side and it is acid sensitive. So that's why it is indexed. So if you see when it did the classification, methicillin was parenteral, but it had it showed resistance against beta-lactamase enzyme. It cannot be given orally, but it is given parenteral because this group does not have electron withdrawing property. That's why they are not orally stable. This is very important. Okay, why methicillin cannot be given orally? Because they do not have electron withdrawing property. They only have bulk, which will prevent them activity against your beta-lactamase, which is present in your microorganisms. Incorporation of isoxazoline ring. So along with your phenyl ring, if you introduce an isoxazole ring in the penicillin side chain, lead to development of better penicillinase resistant agents, and in fact isoxazole ring acts as a steric but also electron withdrawing. So this electron heterocyclic ring, they have got electron withdrawing property because of the presence of sulfur and nitrogen in the heterocyclic ring. It makes your substituent electron withdrawing and thus giving stability, acid stability. So that's why the example oxacillin, cloxacillin, dicloxacillin and cloxacillin, they are all acid resistant as well as penicillinase resistant. Very important, you have to recollect this. Which drugs are acid resistant as well as beta-lactamase, that is methicillin, cloxacillin, dicloxacillin and fluoxacillin. So these are the examples of the drugs which are orally stable as well as beta-lactamase stable because they contain an electron withdrawing group attached as well as they have got bulky substitute. So that makes the drug very much useful. Broad spectrum activities associated with the presence of alpha hydrophilic groups on the acyl chain, like alpha hydrophilic groups like amino group, carboxylic group, pyrido group, uridopyrimidine group, piperidine group. So these are the example, like presence of NH2 OH groups attached to the alpha carbon, the carbon which is next to your carbonyl group. If it contains such group, they have got activity against both gram-negative and they are known as broad spectrum. Examples are like ampicillin, amoxicillin, carbacillin, ticarcillin. So these have got a broad spectrum activity. The spectrum is further extended with introduction of your strong acidic group which is attached to your alpha carbon. If alpha carbon carboxylic group broad spectrum wider range against gram. Example ticarcillin, as I explained. If there is any like carboxylic acid groups, so they have got further extended activity. Okay. The acylation of your ampicillin western with certain polar groups leads to a cyclic area. If you acyl with, as we said, piperacillin, iridopiperacillin derivatives have a urea functional group at alpha position. In fact, they are more active than the carboxyl. The urea group, presence of your urea group makes the compound more active. These examples are active. This type of penicillin are actually active against Streptococcus haemophilus species, and presence of urea gives improved penetration into your gram-negative bacteria. Example azoxystrobin, methicillin and piperacillin. So these are the effect of substituents on the R group. So what are the R groups and what are the effect of that R groups? This is explained in detail. Okay. Now next class, this was about the penicillins. This was about penicillin. Now there is another class of antibiotics which are called as beta-lactamase inhibitors. There is another class of drug which are called as beta-lactamase inhibitors. So the microbial resistance to beta-lactam and like penicillin occurs mainly due to the production of enzyme called beta-lactamase. This microorganism synthesize an enzyme called as beta-lactamase. Okay, and this beta-lactamase acts by breaking the beta-lactam ring by catalyzing the hydrolysis of your beta-lactam. So this beta-lactamase hence catalyzes the breaking of your beta-lactam ring by hydrolysis. Okay, which results in the loss of antibacterial property of your and thus the micro exhibits resistance. So because of this presence of your beta-lactamase, that microorganism gains resistance against the beta-lactams. Okay. Now the beta-lactamase inhibitors are beta-lactam structures that have negligible antimicrobial. As such, these beta-lactamase inhibitors don't have any antimicrobial activity, but they inhibit the enzyme beta-lactamase. Listen carefully. As such, they have got the only thing they got is the structure similar to that of your beta-lactams, but they have negligible antimicrobial. Their work is just to inhibit your beta-lactamase, which is the enzyme which is present in your micro that makes your micro resistant to your penicillin. So when you introduce these beta-lactamase inhibitors, they will just inhibit the beta-lactamase enzyme. Okay, they can be administered along with penicillin to protect them from beta-lactamase and broaden or increase the spectrum of activity. So it increases the stability and as well as increases the spectrum of activity. It will make the drug more stable to the degradation by your beta-lactamase. So increases the efficacy of the drug. They act as an additive. Okay. So examples of beta-lactamase inhibitors are clavulanic acid, sulbactam, tazobactam. They act as a suicide substrate for your beta-lactamase. They act as so instead of beta-lactamase attacking on the beta-lactam ring of your penicillins, they will act on the beta-lactam inhibitors, which have got a similar beta-lactam ring. The suicide substrate are the agents which are converted into highly reactives, which they undergo an enzyme catalyzed reaction and they form a covalent bond to the enzyme and inhibit it irreversibly. So what happens is beta-lactamase forms a covalent bond with your enzyme beta-lactamase and thus inhibit it completely and irreversibly. This is how the beta-lactamase inhibitors act. So let's go for the first example, that is clavulanic acid. So clavulanic acid was isolated from Streptomyces calvariegis by Beckmann in 1970. It is a weak and unimportant antibiotic. It has got a weak and unimportant, means they don't have any antimicrobial activity as such, but it is a powerful and irreversible inhibitor of beta-lactamase. So it is an powerful irreversible inhibitor of your beta-lactamase, and such is that it is used in combination with penicillin such as amoxicillin. So you see, if you see many of your cephalosporins and all, they are now given in combination with clavulanic acid or sulbactam or tazobactam. This is just to prevent or increase the stability of your beta-lactam